Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Nikhil here. We are Group 1. Our group comprises of Bandhavi, myself, Nikhil, Nilufar, and Manohar. And we are going to talk about cloud computing. And basically, we're going to target more about, later down the slides, we're going to target more about the banking sector and how cloud computing is essential in the banking sector. Next slide. So when we talk about cloud deployment, this is one of the basic thing that we need to understand before we jump into the cloud computing. So cloud deployment basically has three models, which is public, private, and hybrid model. Public model is basically wherein the environment is not owned by the company, and they're usually there is a third party vendor through whom this particular is rented out, and the company takes it from them. And some of the major public cloud providers are Alibaba Cloud, Amazon Web Services, cloud Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, and Microsoft Azure. But thinking about public cloud, why a lot of people prefer not to is because of the data privacy and data security. So when the access to the data is easily available, public clouds do not allow the users to be able to see the information as it's being kept at some other data center. So they don't have access to it and they lose the control to it. So that's one of the disadvantage of having a public cloud. Uh, Private cloud basically is like wherein a company usually wants the entire cloud infrastructure for themselves. So it's always dedicated to a single user group, and all the clouds that become like a private cloud when the infrastructure is dedicated to a single customer with isolated access to them as a whole. And one of the disadvantages we can see with the private cloud would be the high cost that is involved, because since now you're allocating the entire system for one particular organization, it's definitely expensive than the public clouds. And it also requires a lot of hardware and software maintenance that it will come along with it, and that will add up to the cost for the organization. The third one, which is a combination of public and private cloud, is the hybrid cloud, wherein you'll have a mixture of so like some of the private data that the company needs it in house will usually have the data centers in place in their area, so that they can have critical information that they need with themselves, and some information that they do not need access to or is not vital to them, they will host that in a data center. So they'll have a hybrid atmosphere wherein they'll have both of it separated, and critical information will be kept in center and in-house, and the other data can be hosted in cloud. Um, but that's about hybrid cloud. So next, go into the next slide, which will talk about the different services that are provided. There are three major service models. One is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Software as a service offers like applications that can be accessed over the web and are not managed by your organization, and it's usually organized by a software provider. And this a kind of an advantage with this you can see is that this relieves your organization from having constant pressure of software maintenance, infrastructure maintenance, network security, and data availability. The other one is called platform as a service. So it's somewhere halfway between infrastructure as a service and software as a service. It offers access to the cloud-based environment in which the users can build and deliver their applications without having the need to install and work with IDEs. So that can be seen as a advantage to this one. And the price structure usually depends on the customization that the user wants and the subscription that they need. And based on that, you'll have to pay as you keep using the subscription. Infrastructure as a service offers a standardized way of acquiring computing capabilities on demand and over the web. Such resources will include storage facilities, networks, and processing and virtual private servers. Again, with infrastructure as a service, you will be paid as you go model, wherein You are built by the factors such as how much storage you're using, the amount of processing power that you're using, and etc. So you will use all this when you're calculating the price for how much you're going to pay. Next slide. So the next thing what we're going to talk about is basically what is cloud computing and why do we need it. So everybody knows about cloud computing, but the main reason is why should people move to cloud computing. So one of the main reason why we need cloud computing is so that the business in a business, it will allow the organization to be able to scale and maintain the flexibility and focus their efforts on their business operation rather than managing complex IT infrastructure. And the other benefit of it having is like that way the business will be able to store and access data in a centralized location, and it will offer enough flexibility for the organization, an easier data recovery mode, and a higher level of security overall, which will help them to focus more on their operations rather than on these complex IT solutions. Next, it will be continued by Nilofer.
Thank you, Nikhil, for the introduction. I'll talk about the planning. Having a cloud transformation strategy is essential, especially like when we are migrating to the cloud system. Amount of user will increase like by a large amount, and all the resources which are important can be accessed to by the cloud system. For that, we need to collect all the information of all the apps, data, and workload in the organization. Protecting data, in this project, we will be working with banking systems, and security is really important, especially the banking system and the financial industry in general. All the sensitive information should be encrypted and stored on premises. Preparing architecture, ensuring an architecture is in the plan before moving the apps into the cloud system is crucial. We need to plan and prepare the architecture very well, because when we start using the cloud system, there will be like maybe millions of people, users will be be active, and if there's anything wrong, it's hard to go back and make changes or improve the cloud after we start using it. And that's why planning is really important. Selecting cloud provider. Cloud providers like AWS, Azure, or GCP provides a very effective hybrid cloud solution. It's important to plan the needs and knowing which provider will be good for the organization, because every organization needs and asks are different than each other, and we need to plan this as really well as well. And for the thank you. All important data which are provided are secured properly. Data are also encrypted and stored for security of the data. Proper security is also provided by adopting DevSecOps, and again, the need for security is a must for banking systems. And we need to optimize the cost also, which cloud system we can optimize the cost. If there is any transition or migration to different system in general, if the cost is really high, there will be always rethinking from the companies. So we need to plan that good as well. Clouds are also improved to make the apps crucial, and the providers of the clouds are selected for giving better solutions. Next slide, please. Thank you. Clouds which are used have adapted hybrid, and they ensure migration of apps. The phases need to be the best way with a good planning, because transition and migration of the cloud system from a traditional systems will take time, and there will be different phases, and we need to plan those phases well. Transitions which are done also successful. Data are predicted with the help of machine learning and processing of the data, which is big and efficient. We need to optimize the cost also, and this can help banks in optimizing the costs involved in development. I'm passing to Bando from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilüfer, for giving introduction on the banking sector. So, I mean, most of the banks in today's world, they wanted to move to the cloud for so many good reasons. For efficiency and to protect the customer data, and they have few other reasons for moving to the cloud. But moving to the cloud for banking sector is not really easy, and there are many challenges that are currently in place. Say all the code that is written is still using the old methods of like C language and the data structures. So moving to the cloud platforms, they have to rewrite the whole application code to support the new infrastructure in the cloud. So that is one of the major challenges. But talking about the other scenarios where like we really have to move to the cloud is because firstly, moving to the cloud, we can give the customers a good insight of their data, say like based on the data that the banks provide. We can do some analytics on that, say like using a machine learning tools or something, and we can give a report so that we can provide low customer interest rates to all the banking customers and all that. So using that really helps. Using all the cloud platforms and implementing this new AI and machine learning techniques really helps the banking sector. And also, for example, these days we are seeing in the Bank of America, Amex, and all this Wells Fargo and all these banks, we get the triggers and we get the alerts saying that you can apply for this and you can get a low interest rates. So these are all happening because we are doing we are moving to the cloud, and a lot of analytics is happening on the data, and we are getting faster results for the customers. That is one of the use case that is happening in the banking. Continuation is I'll talk about like how cloud really plays a very important role in this banking sector. The main advantages are like security. We know that data is really important for the customers, and any breaches of the data happening is not really tolerated in this scenarios. So the security is utmost provided in the cloud. Say any authentication and authorization of the users is taken care. So that is one important thing. And also efficiency. Efficiency and accuracy are maintained in the cloud. Very less chances for the human interaction or any manual distractions that are going to happen in the cloud. And thirdly, there is very less data risk that will happen in the cloud. Suppose, say, if we have anything on the physical data centers, some human errors might actually damage the data, but having them in the cloud and securing them using a proper multi-factor authentication or credentials really helps for that banking sector. And lastly, talking about the effective methods, the one use case I wanted to bring out here is a disaster recovery scenario. Saying the effective methods, suppose in case if you have like a physical data center and you don't have a proper disaster recovery plan, and if something happens to the physical data center, all the data of the banks is lost, all the transaction data is lost. So that is a very big drawback if we are using the traditional methods. But whereas while coming to the cloud platforms, you have like a main database. Say suppose even if it goes down, you will have an other like failover database that will be ready to take over the place, and it will automatically connect to the application of the banks. So that is one important use case the banks are using these days. Not only banks, so many applications that are hosted on the cloud, they're using this technique and method to effectively launch their applications in the cloud. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the innovations that are happening in the cloud using this. As I said before, with the AI and ML implementations, a lot of innovation is happening in the cloud. So banking sector is like moving forward with all the new techniques that are implemented in the cloud, apart from the challenges it had. I'll let Manohar continue with the capabilities and conclusions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bandhavi. And yeah, just go to last slide, conclusion slide, as we are running out of time. So I will directly go with the how the performance will be improved of a certain organization with implementing the cloud computing. So I have two factors. One is like monitoring. So in currently banking sector having a lot of user experience, degradation of user experiences and the latency issues when we are trying to get any data from, suppose if you are trying to get any credit card data or some login issues, so that has to be monitored actively. And this has to be done with the integrator of external systems, and which has to be done through on data. So it is not coming the data from the on-premise applications. So we have to enable the pager duties as well, like by using monitoring tools, and it will reduce the user experiences. So apart from that, I'm going with the automatic software updates. So I can, like, whenever we are implementing any cloud services, so it will be updating all the security vulnerabilities, and any securities will be taken care by the cloud services. That's it from my end. Yeah, thank you.
I think this is all the information that we have with our banking sector. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.